Welcome back, everybody. I'm Giles, and this is Home Theater Fanatics. Today, we're going to talk about a piece of theater equipment that doesn't get a huge amount of coverage. I mean, it's not a super sexy piece of gear, but it's something that's absolutely a requirement in your theater. It makes a huge difference in the level of quality of your experience inside of your theater, and that's the screen. Yeah, the screen. People are like, the screen? What are you talking about? Well, I know it's not sexy like big 24-inch subwoofers or a $25,000 processor, but this is what you look at for 2 hours when you're watching a movie, and it becomes very, very important. And for me, I was just like everybody else, and I didn't really understand how important it was until I had Chris Seymour come on my show. Yeah, that's my weekly Home Theater Fanatics live show. He came on and gave me a little education about screens, and it made me really think, what can I do to up the game in my own theater? Now, I'm going to get to what I did, which is this screen, and I'm going to talk about this screen in particular, and this is the Seymour Screen Excellence Trim L, right? And what that means is that the sides will auto mask. It's really cool, and we'll get to that. But before that, I want to talk just a bit about the different pieces of a screen so that you can be familiar with the lingo in case you've not looked at a real projection screen before. When you're thinking about which screen to purchase, the first thing that usually comes up is how big do you want it to be? Now that's going to be dictated by your room, but other things will come into play, like how much light your projector can put out, how much light gets into the room, what type of content you like to consume. So it might be best, if you're not super familiar with screens, to get a friend or a pro to give you a hand, because there's a lot of pieces that go into that. Now, once you get beyond the size, probably the next thing that you want to think about is aspect ratio. And aspect ratio is how wide it is versus how tall it is. The most common aspect ratios are a scope screen, or 2.4 to 1 or 2.39 to 1, which is what you see here. The other most common screen size is a 16 by 9, which is what you see on your television. Now, if you watch a lot of television content in your theater, maybe that's the right aspect ratio for you, but for me, I'm like all movies all the time. I also have an anamorphic lens, meaning that I run a constant image height setup, and it's specifically designed to fill the screen with all of the light output from my projector in a scope aspect ratio. So for me, this is the perfect aspect ratio. But for most people, it'll either be the scope aspect ratio, 2.4 to 1, or a 16 by 9. The next big decision that you're going to make is screen material. And I know that you're thinking, screen material, how different can it be? Well, it can be quite different. And there are two primary types. There's what's called a perf material, and it's some type of plastic that's got bunches of little holes punched in it, and the other type is a weave, so it's thread that's woven together in cloth, and those allow you to have what's called an acoustically transparent screen. So you can put a speaker back here and the sound can come through the material without being muffled too much, and that's the key. How much muffling can you deal with? When you look at a perf screen, there are a lot of particulars around that, so it will muffle sound. You need to be further back because you can see the dots sometimes. So for me, in a small room, and I think for most home theaters, perf might not be the right way to go. Like I said, the other way is the weave screens. And now this is woven, and this is inliner material. And the cool thing about this is that out of this trim frame, you can change that material, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I really love woven material, and Seymour Screen Excellence has got this stuff down, so there's like only a half a decibel of attenuation on the sound from a speaker behind this screen, which means you can't really tell that there's any attenuation at all. It's really, really super cool. I strongly recommend that people really look at woven materials for home theater screens. Perf is great, but there are a lot of pieces to understanding about how to deal with the sound of perf and how far you have to be away and that kind of thing. And sometimes it doesn't work well in the home theater environment, or for a layperson that just wants to buy a screen, slap it up. If you buy a perf and slap it up, might not give you the experience that you're looking for. So all of those things being said, and kind of understanding the basics of choosing a screen, that's kind of led me to this Seymour Screen Excellence Trim L. And it fulfills my needs in a number of different ways. And let's tie that to back what I talked about before. So from a size point of view, they can build it pretty much whatever size you want, so that's not an issue. This is a scope screen aspect ratio, perfect for me. They can also make it in a 16 by 9 or probably other esoteric ones if you really wanted it, but the standards, like I said, are 16 by 9 and scope. Now, what's really nice about this is that this material can be changed. So as they come out with new materials, you can continue to use your frame and not have to replace that. If you look closely, I don't know if you can really see, but this is what's called an auto masking screen. So it'll automatically mask on the sides so that it can change aspect ratio. In my system, I'm always using constant image height, so the height of the image never changes, but my black bars are on the side. So let's take a look as we change this from a scope aspect ratio to a 16:9 aspect ratio. Pretty cool, right? One other thing that's really, really sweet with this screen is this integration with something like a Kaleidescape. So Kaleidescape knows the aspect ratio of a movie, so it's able to send a trigger to a screen like this so that it can automatically mask in or out as needed for that particular movie. So when you sit down, you hit the button, and if it's 16:9 content, it'll close up for you. Or if for some reason it had been closed up a little bit and you're watching scope, it would open back up. Really, really cool, slick, and it makes things very easy. You don't have to fumble with remotes and try and figure out what to do. You just push the button and you go, and it gives you that perfect viewing experience. The Trim L and other high-end offerings from Seymour Screen Excellence typically are installed by a pro. You'd get a home theater company to come in and set this up for you, but you can do it yourself. And I did this one, so if I can do it, that means you can do it. So let's take a look at how this thing is put together so you can kind of get the idea of what that experience is like, and we'll do it in fast forward so you can see it quickly. But like I said, if I can do it, you can do it, and it's not that tough. It does take two people to get this thing on the wall because it's pretty heavy, but assembly can be done with one person. If you're thinking about taking your theater to the next level, and that involves a new screen, I would strongly give Seymour a look. They have screens at all different kinds of levels, and I know this is kind of like a rah-rah video for Seymour, but I really do like their products, and they do make a huge difference in your theater. If you're still thinking, okay, I can get a silver ticket for $200 and that's the best that I could ever expect to have in my theater, meaning from a performance point of view, that's the pinnacle, you're wrong. It gets a lot better than that. And I know that as you start getting up into these type of options where you have auto masking and that kind of stuff, there are lots of dollars involved. But even if you jump in at the lowest price point for the frame for a Seymour screen and get their material makes a huge difference. I mean, it's a really, really big deal if you want that acoustically transparent type of environment and experience when you watch a movie. So check them out. It's very, very good stuff. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe, hit the button, ring the bell, do all those things, and I'll see you guys in the next video.